kind of quickly, and pulls the ship away real quickly and causes the top of the tree to be damaged, which later on she moves the tree so it what did not exist in a time when it could get hurt. But she's hurt this tree and she's feeling bad about that, so she goes back and reports to Quetzal that something's wrong with Billy. They look into it and find that Billy had been attacked by some little critters. Apparently these Befath guys had put some mechanical looking little bugs in a tree on Billy's property. The little mechanical bugs, whatever they were, would fly around letting out some sort of bacteria in the air. And this was what was poisoning Billy and causing his thinking to change. Apparently everybody at the community, at the group there, this bacteria had gotten into them also. So this might explain a little bit why they're having trouble getting along. The outshot of it was that Semjase says, we're going to destroy all these little bugs in the tree where that's coming from. And Billy says, how are you going to do this? And she says, well, I use this device here in the ship. It's kind of like a beam device, like those pistols you played with. But we can control the intensity of it and how far, the range is. And Billy says, can I give it a try? She says, surely, okay, let me show you how to work it. And she's explaining a little bit about it, how you move this device and for aiming, and you move this little handle here and so forth to make it work. And she says, I'm 38 meters from the tree. Let me move in a little bit closer. And as she's moving the ship, Billy goes ahead and fires. And she gets a little excited, like, what have you done? Wait a minute. I haven't got to stop the ship yet. He says, that's okay. It's all done. And she looks, and she's very surprised that he had figured out how to use the equipment so easily, and he'd accomplished the task so simply. And he says, it's really no big deal. It's a very simple device, and anybody living on Earth who's used to messing with mechanical mechanisms could figure this thing out very simply. Probably all these kids we had that play video games would have figured it out in a flash. But she was a little surprised because they're not used to doing mechanical things, and when that device is installed in the ship, she says it normally takes them an hour or two to be checked out on it and trained how to use it. So apparently they're not too mechanical minded. They probably have droids and things that do so much for them that they're just not used to figuring things out on their own. On the 81st contact, which was Sunday, September 4th, 1977, a rather unusual thing has happened. Apparently the Befath have shot at Billy's house. Apparently what has happened, they've aligned themselves with some ETs from the Pegasus system, who are really rather kind of wicked in thinking, apparently. These beings have a weapon somehow that takes thought energy, concentrates it, they can aim it at something, and it causes vibrational oscillations that cause matter to break down. And they've actually fired at the back of Billy's house and destroyed part of the wall on the back of Billy's house. Well, Billy listens to the explanation of how it worked and who did it, and he's kind of upset, but he doesn't seem to be as upset as Semjase is. The outshot of it was that Quetzal stations a telemeter device over Billy's house for security so they'll know if any of the Befath ships come around again. They repair the wall, by the way, and make it even stronger, and Billy's making jokes about, will this wall now stand up to those Befath knaves? But the humor again escaped Semjase. She did announce to him that early when she was explaining about the effects of the Bermuda Triangle and the two giant suns whose radiations were causing the effects, that the Earth had moved out of a position where it was now affected by those. It was no longer affected by those radiations. So the effects of the Bermuda Triangle as far as radiations from these suns causing time movement is over as of July 10th, 77. It's still possible that there could be other events there, but it wouldn't be caused by these radiation effects. Some of the effects in the Bermuda Triangle and the Japanese Devil's Sea, as they call it, in around Madagascar, are also caused by magnetic storms on Earth, climate changes, crime, etc. Not all events were actually caused by the time warp. Well, an interesting thing is happening at the community. The rules for living at the community are being drawn up. I've read them. I was a member for a brief time. I was called a special member because I didn't live there, and I was member number 50 for a while, year or so. And so I had a copy of the rules, and they are very strict. for the current group who lives there, in effect, you live only for the community. You cannot think outside of the community or against any interest. In other words, open-mindedness is kind of suppressed in a way. It's a very strict community. It's far too strict for me. It was very good that I didn't live there. I wasn't able to conform to the rules anyway, even living over here in America, which led me to, resign myself and quit doing that. So anyway, the rules are drawn up and the community is actually forming. Billy is given plans to build their meditation room, which they're going to do. Billy's has a place over there called the meditation room where they've built a pyramid exactly to the specifications given to them by Ptah. And as a regular practice, all of the members use the meditation facility. For those of you who are into astral projection, you'll enjoy this next little part here. On the 83rd contact on Saturday, September 10th in 77, it was explained to Billy that the Plejadians were having contacts with a man who they just called Mr. G, and he was performing some important work for them, and they hadn't heard from him in several weeks, and there seemed to be a problem, and Semjase just asked casually if Billy could look into it, that she felt somehow he was being influenced by some other outside energy force, and didn't know what really had happened to Mr. G. So Billy waits till night about 2 in the morning, and he astrally projects his thoughts to Mr. G. And his thoughts approach Mr. G. He sees him lying in his bed sleeping at night, and he notices that there's a field of energy, not a blue one but a violet one, around Mr. G. And he says, well, I have to get through this band of energy around him so I can get into his aura to actually find the thoughts that his subconscious are creating and to find out what's been going on with Mr. G. So he tries to move through this violet energy force that is surrounding Mr. G, and he is repelled immediately with this tremendously strong force. He finds himself knocked unconscious. Immediately he's back into his bed, and as soon as his consciousness returns, he notices that some invading energy has pushed right inside of his material body in his chest and threatens to kill him. That's what he said. He says he's losing his breath, and this force was so powerful he suddenly was kind of fearful for his life. With his strongest blockade abilities, he fought and resisted this force, and for 15 minutes he had to fight it tremendously to push it out of his body. Then the force left. Well, he later, when he had a contact with Semjase, explained this to her, and she was very surprised that Billy had actually been attacked by this force. They had no idea. And she says, well, don't concern yourself with it any longer. I certainly wouldn't want you to get hurt. And she would look into it and get back to him, which she does. When it turns out that she herself tries to get in through this violet energy block that's surrounding Mr. G, and can't get through herself, and she's hit full force with it, and is knocked back, knocked unconscious. Her sister Plea, who is standing by with some sort of device on board the ship, to protect her, intercedes with this device and separates the energy and pushes it out of the ship and saves her. But she says, Billy, this force was so strong that I couldn't believe that you actually survived it. And Billy said, well, what he had done was a trick that was taught to him years ago when he was learning these techniques in India, whereby that you leave traces of yourself. When you astral project, you don't allow the energy to follow you back to where you originated from. Instead, he left traces of his feelings in New Delhi and in Rangoon. So it broke up the ability of this energy to follow him back, and he did not receive a full impact then of this energy, lest he probably would be dead. Instead, he just got a minor part of the energy that hit Semjase. Ptah is called in, looks into the situation, and finds out that indeed Mr. G is being surrounded by a heavy form of energy, and he explains what it is. He says on the planet Earth there are literally billions of people who follow and align themselves with certain religious thinking. In other words, their thoughts all form a pretty much the same idea. He says that ETs who want to take advantage of this, what they can do is they can focus in on these